Welcome to the I-80 Club in association with 1620 The Zone. This is the I-80 Club Road Show, dancing with the Skurs, and it is proudly brought to you by Husker Power Products. They are the reason that we are here in Oklahoma City, and we are so happy to have you for a special pregame final edition of the Nebrasketball Hour. Josh Peterson, Jack Mitchell, Kaleb Henry. We are here live at the Star Wars house. We're comfy. We're on the couch. We're ready to go. Jack, the game is, like 4 hours away? How are we feeling?
I need to get – I'm not in big game mode enough. Not nearly in big game mode enough.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know what it is. I just think we're having too much fun with other stuff.
We are having a great time.
This has been a really fun trip.
The hot tub was utilized earlier today.
The hot tub was utilized.
Yeah.
Been hanging out with my son and Stibbs. Went out last night on the town in OKC. Saw a bunch of listeners, bunch of our friends in media out there last night, and that was a great time. It's just been a blast. It's been really, really fun. And so, I know Josh just said it, but want to thank our Husker Power Products above everything, because we wouldn't be doing this whole thing if it weren't for them taking a risk on it. Yep. And we're hoping that they get some really good feedback on this, and that we got a whole lot of people patronizing them in the whole state and anywhere as well. So, and then all the community sponsors, which we'll name a little bit later in the show, but you'll see them on your scroll.
Yeah.
And they've been huge for us, but the trip has been, while I'm for sure have a moment behind the mic where things are not crazy and I'm not too angry to talk, which I'm none of those things now.
No.
Because there may not be another one of those. I just want to, it's been a blast. Thanks to everybody who's been watching, who's met us. Kyle, we've met the amount of people that we've met who are I-80 Club members and or listeners, and we've heard from on our voicemail shows, which have been born during this trip as well.
Yeah.
Have been awesome. And that is the plan to do tonight, a voicemail show on our actual post-game show. So that will be fun. So that phone line is now open. I need to record a new message for it, but it is whatever you want to say about the game, your reaction to it, what you're doing. There still have been some coming in today. I haven't even heard. I don't even know what they are.
Incredible.
You can also text it. We haven't been good about reading the text, but people text it too.
You talking about the phone number that's 402-819-8030.
402-819-8030.
Call us, text us. If it's a celebration tonight, we could be reading things well into the wee hours of Sunday morning.
Yeah, I don't. If it's a win tonight, all bets are off. I like to say that phrase. All bets
you
are
invented
off.
that phrase, actually.
I actually did.
I had never heard anybody say all bets are off.
I was at a casino. I used to be a blackjack dealer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Is that how you got your radio name?
Yeah, that's actually it. They called me Blackjack.
Okay.
And
nice.
And that's how I did that. It was at the Ameristar in Council Bluffs.
So that's a good reminder, though, Jack, of what we got going on today. So we will be on with you for the next hour right here on the I-80 Club YouTube page, on the 1620 The Zone YouTube page, getting you ready. We will break down Nebraska and Vandy. I see that Jack has Bart Torvik on his phone.
I'm ready to act like I know all about Vanderbilt because I looked at Bart Torvik.
I have a lot of takes, including that they are third in effective field goal defense.
One final other thing. We just did, if you're a member of the I-80 Club, you have access to, we just did a video house tour of the Star Wars house, which we are in. You've seen this angle. You've seen a couple. You've not seen the whole thing. And I knew it was pretty interesting, but people were floored by the tour and the things that.
This house is wild.
It's eccentricities, I should say.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. That was about it's actually a half hour long. We took some questions. We already got a super chat, I see. But you can watch that if you're not a member, you can become one. And you can get a free 7 days if you want to do that. If you do it for the community tier.
Well, and that's a great point, because here's what we got coming up today. We'll be on for the next hour talking about the game, talking about other stuff. We'll get off at 5, and then immediately we're going back to Social Capital, which is right by the arena. And we are going to do a few different things, probably some Twitter stuff, maybe some Patreon stuff for subscribers. Again, patreon.com/
set your alerts.
Club.
If there's a new post, you can set a reminder that it starts.
Turn on all the alerts. So we'll be doing that. So we're going to finish the show at 5. We'll get there by 5:30 or so. We're going to leave there, or at least Kaleb and I are going to head out at 6:30 to get inside the arena, get our food, and watch the end of Houston and Texas A&M. So we'll do some random stuff there. What are we calling it, Jack? The
party show.
Party show. So we'll do that. And then we will return tonight, and you'll be able to watch the Nebrasketball Hour postgame show right here on these exact same YouTube channels tonight. We have the start time set at 11, but it's mainly how fast do we get out of the arena and drive home. That's what it's about. Once we're here, we're going to be all set up. It's not going to take more than...
We're going to be back on the Star Wars couch.
Back on the Star Wars couch, and I think Jack is going to make us pizzas. So
making frozen pizzas. We got 2. I hope that's enough.
Red Baron's got a midnight flight.
Yep, midnight flight into my tummy.
We might have to hit up one of those food delivery services.
We'll order some pizzas.
The mood is good. So that's what we'll be doing. So those are the things that we have coming up over the course of the next handful of hours. And who knows? Jack might be doing some Patreon stuff, elsewhere as well after the game.
And Stibbs and I will be bartending.
Stibbs and you'll be bartending. Oh, you mentioned we got a super chat from Mike. Shout out to you, Mike. He's been giving us supers all week long. He says, I also agree that all bets are off, of course.
There you go. From Mike from Choices. How about that? A free shout out, Mike.
Yeah,
there you go.
Shout out to you,
all
Mike.
bets are off. That's why I quit that job at Ameristar. People don't know that. A lot of people there, even to this day, ask, where's Blackjack, the blackjack dealer?
Mike has almost done enough super chats over the course of this trip to be a community partner.
He really has. Shout out to you, Mike. Let's see. Ifins 47 writes, if Price can shoot like he did Thursday, Nebraska wins 82-76.
Like that starting salvo for the show. I look at him transitioning us with us having to do the hard work.
Excellent.
He's doing the heavy lifting and paying us to do the heavy lifting.
Let's talk about this game. So I saw a tweet, and I actually reference this, or will reference this, depending on the time that you are listening to this, in a spot on 1620 The Zone, as I'm breaking down all sorts of stuff for the trip here for The Zone. But I referenced this tweet from Nick Baugh that I saw earlier today. And I know we got another super. We'll get to that in just a moment. But he wrote, Nebraska's defense is elite. 7th-ranked Ken Palm D. Huskers sell out to defending the paint and post, which can leave three-point line open. 49.6% of Husker opponent shots are threes, which is 5th highest in Division I. 39% of Husker opponents' points scored are threes, which is 6th most in D1. And he adds Vandy three-point shooting will be huge. And so that is one of those early things that I will be watching, is what is going on with Vanderbilt and getting up those three-point shots. Yesterday, Mike Sauter went on with Mike Schaefer on Unemployed from Social Capital, and he said that if Nebraska holds Vanderbilt under 70 points, he thinks it's a wrap. Nebraska is going to win this game by double digits if they're able to do that. Because it's a really good offense.
If that's true, Josh, this game comes down to a very, very simple thing. It's how's Vandy shooting threes. That's it. I mean, if that's true, because that's where they're going to make hay, is with those 3-point shots. They are top 100 in 3-point percentage, at least. I don't know exactly how Bart does, if it's a more complex metrics, but he's got them 80th overall in the nation at 3-point percentage, actually, and they're at 78th overall in 3-point defense, so better than average in both.
And I'm going to be curious on the other side of the floor, how is it being officiated with Price's movement? Because think about early in the game on Thursday.
Great point.
You were getting foul calls with him both off the ball and with him dribbling, so those foul calls start to open up space on that end of the floor, and we saw just how wide the hell open he was for so many of those threes that he made. He makes 7 in the game, but it just seemed unconscionable. I found a word. There was a word in there. Like, why was Troy just constantly leaving Price Sanford wide open? Well, some of it could have been, obviously, it's Troy out of the Sun Belt, different levels that you're seeing with the offense. But also they weren't able to hold on, and they weren't going to get away with that. is Vanderbilt allowed to get away with that early on, and how does that impact the way the rest of the game proceeds?
Couple of Supers chance rights. The second Red Baron has hit my tummy. That's what Jacoby said later tonight. Emmett has dropped us another super shout out to you, Emmett, another one of our fine community partners, it seems. We have to shut down Tyler, number 3, and number 2. I think his name is Bridges. This is going to be one of the best games of the year.
Tyler Tanner, I think, is who he's talking about, and he transferred in to Vanderbilt, and then who is he? Bridges,
number 3 and number 2.
They've got Duke Miles is another guy who gets a lot of minutes for them. Tyler Nickel, Devin McLaughlin, Jalen Washington are kind of their big ones out there. So I'm not sure who he's referring to with the other one, but yeah, but Tanner's a good player. He is got really and McLaughlin too, in terms of offense, they got scorers.
Yeah.
They got a lot of scorers. Their offense is high efficiency, fairly high pace, fairly reliant on 3-pointers.
They want to outscore you.
Yeah.
There's no Iowa drag this thing out, make it ugly.
And if you want to look at the optimistic side of that, when Nebraska's been at its worst, it's because they've had a defense that has been really aggressive, right? Remember Iowa? We were watching the UCLA game together on a watch party, and I was like, "Geez, they're getting on them so near the half court line, and Nebraska can't run anything."
Yeah,
and I don't think we've seen a situation yet. And Nebraska will have its moments where it just isn't hitting shots. That was part of their problems too. But they've been, when they've really struggled, and I'm thinking even that Illinois game in Lincoln as well, it's just where you've got such an aggressive, focused on defense team that it gets the offense out of sync. And I think Nebraska's also got to create some turnovers too to get their offense in rhythm too. That offense depends more than most on the defense creating. It's got a little bit to do with pace, I think. Because if teams don't have that time, I think that's part of why Troy did a little bit of that token pressure, full court pressure. They didn't want Nebraska to get up a floor that quickly.
Yeah.
And so because you noticed it, they weren't trying to do anything, but I think they were just trying to slow that, take some time off the shot clock, slow that thing down, let their guys get down court and figure out what they're doing.
Yeah, and you guys know, obviously one of the big stories of this whole week has been the invasion by Nebraska fans. And you get those turnovers turning into a quick bucket on the other end. That is how the arena really pops. I saw a tweet making it the rounds earlier today about the specific noise the crowd made after the Price Sanford steal, which was given to Jamarcus, flipped it back to Rank, who then flipped it back to Sanford, who knocked in the 3. And that was early in the game. It put Nebraska up by 3 points. And the noise that the crowd emitted in the moment that shot hit the net was incredible. And that is going to be something, obviously, that they will be trying to do, is turning those turnovers. And the Vandy team, their guards are really good at not turning the ball over, turning them over and getting down the other end and knocking in one of those 3s.
Yeah.
I'm going to be curious to see, because Nebraska was the first game of the session the other night, when you're talking about the fans, how many fans are getting there for the first game of today's session, and in a different way, because you were able to walk in, you were the first game, you got to your seats, you were pregame. You're going to have Husker fans get there, and another game's going on.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't going to get there in the immediacy after that first game, walking by people. Okay, now it's in the pregame for this one. You're getting there in a as another game is going on. I don't think that's going to change the feel of the crowd once they get in there and you get closer to game time. It is just a little bit different for the arrival walking in, and oh crap,
there's a game going on.
There's a tournament game happening right here as you get there.
As crazy as Thursday was, and it was, in terms of the crowd, in terms of the volume, in terms of the sustained intensity, in terms of standing the entire game at an NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
When have you even seen that watching an NCAA tournament?
Maybe Final Four, maybe national championship.
National guys were saying, they're like, no, this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
This is not what people do.
But I have every reason to believe that this crowd is going to be louder, rowdier, maybe bigger. I'm not sure, but louder. First of all, the obvious thing, the game is at night instead of 11:40 a.m.
Yeah, and it's on a weekend.
Yes, and it's on a weekend.
Yep.
So you've got that as well. And then I think even to some degree, the reaction to the crowd, the first game, whether it's people talking about, wow, this was really good, and the Vanderbilt coach complaining about it or not complain, whatever he was,
acknowledging it,
acknowledging it. Plus, like Nashville writers complaining about it.
If it's possible, I think, because that crowd was ready, just sort of like desperate to will its team to a victory, because it was just like, my feeling at least was yes, this would be an incredible moment if they win, but I'm also so scared of if they lose.
Yeah.
I very much would be, I mean, I'll be in a terrible mood tonight if they lose, but it won't ruin a month of my life or a year of your life.
It won't, years of your life, honestly.
It will be bad, but it will not be anything compared to what would happen if they had lost that one. And so,
and then if they
win, like, I mean, you know, it's crazy, and it'll set up. It's just a different type of feel for this game, and I think that is going to tend to make this crowd, perhaps, I think, even like they got nothing to lose. They don't have anything to be afraid of.
There's not the desperation. That was such a good word to use.
Yeah, there's no desperation. In fact, there's, you know, it's almost, you know, kind of a level of confidence and swagger to some degree.
So it's not just getting the players loosened up, but it's getting the fans loosened up too. Like there's not the anxiety of, is
I
this
think
one
so.
going to happen?
We've talked about it in terms of the players a lot, but that's kind of, this is me psychoanalyzing fans, but I am one of them. I'll tell you what, I am going to be screaming a ton more. I could barely.
You've been so loose the last 48 hours.
I could barely.
Now that it's done, compared to obviously setting up the trip, getting things ready to go, driving down here, all of the things you've had to do. But since the game happened and it was a win, your like the energy you give off is different, and like in a very positive way. And the desperation's gone, the anxiety of, is this one going to happen, gone. Yeah, and that's just you. Take it, like, add 15,000.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, like I said, I barely yelled during the second half of the game.
Which was wild because your voice was shot that day. I know. I was like, what happened to you?
I think it was just a combination of doing so many stinking shows.
We have done a lot of shows.
For radio. And I yelled, I think at the beginning when I got in there, I did. But
the Husker Power, the Go Big Red.
Yeah, I think some of the second half, but I promise you, if I lost my voice then, I will. It's good. I got no more shows to do for one day. After that, 2 days, one day.
Yeah, it's Sunday tomorrow.
What day is it?
Yeah, it's Saturday right now. We've been here, it feels like, for a month. Art in LA writes, Huskers will go to the Sweet 16 if they do not have a lot of turnovers, and then adds, great show, guys.
Art's the best.
Shout out to you,
Art.
Art
in LA, man.
Hey, you know who else we love? We love all the folks that helped us get down here. Our community partners, iSurgical Associates, Fleet Feet Lincoln, 5-Star Bass Solutions, Lincoln Symphony Orchestra, Look Architectural Coatings, Pinnacle Bank Arena, Sandstone Wealth Management, The Still, Sutton, Linder, and Sutton. Visit Lincoln in 1620, The Zone. And also, of course, this I-80 Club Roadshow, Dancing with the Skurs, has been powered by Husker Power Products. We are so appreciative of all of our partners as we have made the trek down here to Oklahoma City. Wanted to read a couple comments inside of the Discord server. Again, patreon.com/I80 Club. We do recommend that 7-day free trial if you want to get in and mix it up, see what we're all about over here.
Discord will be hopping during this game.
Oh, it will indeed. Alec writes, and this is something, Jack, I think we talked about either yesterday or earlier today. He says he learned something today that I didn't realize. All of the teams Nebraska lost to have made it to the second round. That says a lot about this team. Indeed. Like, this is now a game. I was trying to figure out where Vandy ranks. I mean, I guess we could literally just go to some of the metrics and see, like, they're number 10.
They got them under Torvik has them 12.
They're 12. And so, like, they're not better, obviously, than Michigan. I don't think any of us
They're one behind Michigan State and Bart.
One behind Michigan State. Are they better than Purdue on Purdue's best day? Probably not. This is a really interesting team. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. They were on a lot of those early season graphics with Nebraska because they started 16-0. They had a couple swoons. Nebraska's kind of lasted like a month and a half. They had their own swoons, but then they got hot, especially in the SEC tournament. They ripped through Florida, Jack's Florida Gators. They destroyed them, and they made it all the way to the final before they lost. They feel like they're underseeded. They feel like they're getting disrespect. And I would imagine all jokes about, the atmosphere aside, or if people are whining, like, they're going to embrace being the team that can come in and ruin thousands of Husker fans moment. Like, that's what they want. They want to come in here and say, yeah, we won what was a road game for us,
right?
Because our fans aren't as good at traveling as Nebraska fans.
Yeah,
that's what they want to do today.
In terms of, you talk about the rank being 12, but listen, their resume, I mean, like, this is just, you can look at any resume metric. Their resume is not as good as Nebraska's. And to the degree that they're liked more by the metrics or by, Nebraska is a higher seed.
Sure. And they will be wearing white jerseys.
Vegas
tonight.
likes Vanderbilt. Vegas likes Vanderbilt. The metrics like Vanderbilt. But you go to their actual resume during the season. I wanted to dig into that a little bit more. And I was like, okay, what's their best non-conference win this year? And it is probably VCU on a neutral court, or maybe Central Florida. They beat Central Florida in an away game. Okay. So that's their best. They beat Wake Forest. Wake Forest isn't good this year. So there's not much there. But as you mentioned, they went, what, did they get to 20-0? 16-0.
Yeah.
16-0. And then they lost to Texas on the road. They lost at home to Florida. They lost to Arkansas at Arkansas, which those are all NCAA tournament teams. Then they lost to Oklahoma a couple weeks later at home, which was not a good loss. And then a week after that, they lost at Missouri, NCAA tournament team, lost to Tennessee at home, which they avenged later. And then they lost to Kentucky on the road by 14. Got into beat Tennessee at the end of the regular season, beat Tennessee in the first round of the SEC, had that win against Florida, which really, I mean, man, they just pounded Florida in that game. And then lost to Arkansas by 9 in a game that most of us were watching, cheering against them in. So we did see a little bit of them then. In terms of their best wins during the regular season, you beat Kentucky at home. You beat Auburn on the road. You beat Tennessee away. That's probably it. They beat Alabama at home as well. So that's that. They hadn't beaten Florida. I'm like, who do you think outside of Florida, who do you think the best outside of Florida and Vanderbilt, who's the most impressive possible win in the SEC? Arkansas for sure. Arkansas probably. They were 0-2 against Arkansas.
Yeah, definitely would be Arkansas.
Josh, you brought up the fan standpoint and the crowd, and the Vanderbilt players talked about that this week, and how they're all about that challenge. They want to go in there. They want to make the crowd silent. Doug Bush responded on Twitter, Nebraska's band director.
Yes, I know Doug.
Quote, "Bro, I saw your team standing just outside the tunnel as the Troy-Nebraska game wound down and the crowd blew the roof off the building. All your team's eyes were huge. I don't think you're ready for what is about to hit you tomorrow."
Go.
They were playing like Husker power chants, and they were playing the fight song apparently in their practice. People could hear that yesterday. So yeah,
I'm sure that'll be the same.
Yeah, they're very much
probably will be good.
Shout out to Chad dropping us a super. He says, "Jack discovered your show and have been following all year. It is so great to follow along with lifelong diehards. I know your dad is watching,
Chad,
with us.
Love it, man. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely. We mentioned the voicemail line earlier, 402-819-8030. We played for like 2 hours on Wednesday night, right? That was Wednesday night show that we played. What would it mean if Nebraska won their first tournament game? A lot of stories of fathers and sons and fathers and daughters, some moms and sons, moms and daughters. But it was a lot of dad talk on that. And then yesterday we played more, yesterday, 2 days ago, whenever we did that, 2 days ago after they won, we did that again. And the emotions and the amount of times that people brought up their parents and what this means because their dad or their mom taught them about Nebraska basketball. They took them to the games. We had a great conversation with one of our I-80 Club board members yesterday with her parents, Lindsay, her parents, talking about them and her dad and taking them to games and passing on that love. Like, that has been, I think, my favorite part about this trip, just hearing so many stories about what this means and the relationships that have been formed or were formed with family members or friends over this basketball team. I mean, we always say it, right? Like, there's like this hipster component to being a Nebraska basketball fan, given the playground of football and volleyball, especially over the last few decades. Those have always sucked up so much of the oxygen. And so basketball has kind of been over here. And now they finally feel like they are getting, what they've been searching for forever.
It'd be interesting to see if you did that same thing. Not that we're going to, but we'll do it afterwards if they win. and just kind of like, okay, what is your what does it mean to you that they won this game? Like for me and all of that stuff. I mean, I obviously have my own story and my huge emotional connection with it, but there's like a part of me now that's ready to be, sort of done with that part. Not done.
I know what you mean.
To do it just like to not have it be about the history and have it be about this year's team. Yeah. And frankly, that I think if they win this game, I think we can say, okay, they're being slept on. Like it's time to say it. And like this is no longer about the history. This is no longer about. I don't need the former players sitting in the front row anymore. This is Sam Hoiberg. This is Rank Mass.
It's a good basketball team.
Price. This is a good basketball team. That wasn't really what the conversation was about, even though it was true.
I think all of the stuff, they have not done X, Y, or Z, hung over, especially the last half of the season, the last month and a half of the season, as they kind of swooned a little bit. And it really did maybe paper over that discussion of like, they are a good basketball team, and they have been a great basketball team at times this year. You win today, you're able to say, like, this is a very good basketball team that was able to do something, that obviously only 16 teams ever do. It's hard to make it to the Sweet 16. Mm-hmm. It's obviously been hard for the team to win.
Creighton hadn't done it until recently. I don't know if people know that.
Oh, interesting. Until 2021. Yeah. That's true. Real quick, Caleb, before you go, Crypto King dropping us a super. Thank you, Crypto King. He says, any chance of mentioning Husker softball and baseball, how they are kicking butt? Great show.
They're doing great. Yeah, did they win? Did baseball win today?
Baseball was dominating today. Softball had a run rule victory.
Yeah, the Nebraska 10 run ruled Michigan today.
Wow.
So,
nice.
Hey, at least Michigan got the basketball win, right?
The only reason I wouldn't mention it is because I don't know. Like, I've been in tunnel vision.
It is wild how little of the other stuff we have paid attention to because we have been so laser focused on Nebraska.
Even the rest of the tournament.
Yes, I know.
It's been so laser focused on Nebraska. No, you bring up, like, it's hard to do. It's hard to start 20-0. It's hard to get to 27 wins. And it's not just that the teams Nebraska ultimately lost to all advanced to the second round. It's that stretch of games, Nebraska was not at full strength either. And it wasn't getting blown out by Michigan, Illinois, Purdue. It was like, oh, they lost 3 out of 4 games.
Yeah.
And Nebraska wasn't at full strength for any of them.
Yeah.
You had guys that were either sick or injured or
the Michigan game, right? Rink and Frager were both gone.
Yes.
Like they were down 2 of their best 5-6 players.
So when you're looking at that and you're going, okay, what's the ceiling for the team? And you saw Vanderbilt play extremely well in the SEC tournament. So you're like, oh, what's the ceiling for their team? But for Nebraska, the ceiling is you're as good as anyone in the country on your best day at full strength. Now, in a single elimination tournament, it just takes one bad day and you're out. But Nebraska is just as good as anybody that's still playing out of the 32 teams. And it's such a good matchup, not just because the comparisons that really ramped up as both teams were some of the like last 4 undefeated with those 2, Arizona and Miami of Ohio, but they're ranked in the AP, I believe, 15th and 16th. In the round of 32, if you seeded it out, it would be 16 versus 17. So you're about where you would be playing anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
To advance to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, that's a great way to view this match.
Yeah, that when I realized that this morning as we were talking about Nebraska's resume during the coffee show, and that every loss that they've got still playing, and all of them looked pretty good too, right? I mean, Illinois absolutely
UCLA
rolled.
UCLA had to hold on at the end.
UCLA, and that's true. UCLA had a little bit of a tighter one, but there's no bad loss on Nebraska's resume. And
the only the bad loss would be that they got blown out by UCLA and Purdue.
If you factor in the margin, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And obviously those happened over the last few weeks. Husker from MU brings up a great point in our Discord. He says the D needs to be what we've come to expect. The O needs to step it up to get the win. Need another efficient option outside of Price. Yeah, like Kaleb and I were watching the game upstairs on Thursday, and one of the things that we were talking about a lot, especially as the game was well in hand and you knew that they were going to get the victory, was Frager and how it's like, man, it would just be so nice for him. I agree. It would be so nice for him to get going, and then eventually he did. He got the dunk, obviously, one of the most memorable moments of the game, and then he ended up knocking in a couple of threes. His shot has looked, I don't know, it just has looked different, I would say, over the last month. Am I
It's so weird. Maybe, but like it's so weird because his best shooting game was right after his injury.
Yeah, that's true. The Illinois game.
The Illinois game, he was red hot.
Was on fire.
Yeah, he was awesome.
But, man, if he hit, it feels like if he can hit some of those outside shots, this is how it is with Rank always, too. If they can hit some of those outside shots, man, does that change?
It does.
If those
changes the math.
Those two, because those are the two who are going to get you points. They're the inside-outside players.
Mm-hmm.
They're different types of players, but I think it changes how they'll be defended as well. And Vandy isn't huge. Vandy isn't a beast offensive rebounding team, which is something to note, I think. And I thought Nebraska looked, again, it was a lot about the competition. Nebraska looked completely different on the boards than they had for weeks against Vanderbilt. Against Troy. Rink especially.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, how long has it been since you've looked at Rink play against a big against anyone in the Big Ten and been like, okay, he's just bigger, stronger, a better athlete than that guy? That's what you had against.
Think about the first points that happened in the game the other day on Thursday, where you have the offensive rebound by Rink.
Yep.
And there's everyone around him, and he just waits to clear out, and then he has a one-on-one, one dribble, steps, layup.
And then how about the next points that they scored, which was Sam with the offensive rebound tip-in that gave them their first lead of the game. And so that was another player that I've been thinking about in this matchup in particular, because he didn't really have his fingerprints on the game, at least from a scoring perspective. And I mean, during the huge run that Nebraska had, Sam was on the bench, so he wasn't even on the floor at maybe the most memorable time of the game, which is interesting because we have seen over the course of this season, when he leaves, that's often when things have struggled.
He's like, please just hold on until he gets back.
Remember the USC game? They have 0 turnovers. He gets his second foul. They turn the ball over a ton at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
And then when he returns to start half number 2, immediately impact. They're tipping the ball away. They're running down. They get the lead, and they end up blowing the Trojans off the floor. So pretty fascinating that they were able to do that without him having that impact.
You could argue Sam has not been his vintage self he wasn't in the Big Ten tournament. He wasn't really against Iowa to some degree even.
It's been turning it over.
There's been the turnovers, but he hasn't listen, he's had, I love Sam Hoiberg, but he, for a while there, when everyone else was struggling, when Rank was really struggling, when Jamarcus was really struggling, I remember you talking to you about this, Josh. We were like, man, but it doesn't matter. Hoiberg is always the same thing every game.
Yeah.
And it was almost like at the end of the season, maybe a little bit last. He's not been as much of a. That's probably too harsh. I think maybe people know what I'm saying though. Like
he just hasn't.
He was so good, so good. Yeah. You think of that Minnesota game in times when other guys weren't able to do it. He was even that game at Iowa, I thought, not necessarily offensively, but like he was making plays constantly up and down the floor, constantly.
Yeah. I do think his defense has still been steady. It's where we saw the really big step this year was the impacting things offensively.
Right. It was funny when he had that turnover. One of the turnovers early in the game, that was when he tried that chase down thing.
Yeah.
And then he got the ball on the next, going down the other. He did that really like contorted layup thing and made that was like, I want to see more of that. Like take it to the rim sometimes, especially against a team that isn't that big. These guys will foul you too. They will will foul. You mentioned it already in terms of how they officiate Price, but how they officiate at the rim is going to be big too, because Vandy will foul you. And they will get very physical. They'll give teams a lot of free throw opportunities, and not something Nebraska usually gets. And frankly, is correlated well, I think, with Nebraska being at their best.
And they made their free throws the other day too, and that's another thing that we have seen towards the end of the season that they struggled with a bit. We want to give a huge thank you to the IED Club Road Crew. These are our members who have supported us a little bit extra. We sold $100 hoodie, and then the temperature is basically 100. So everyone
was expecting to go to Buffalo,
and we saw that there today. The weather looked terrible, so we're very happy that we're not in Buffalo right now. But we want to give a huge thank you to everyone who is on our IED Club Road Crew: Lincoln, Corey, Gerren, Mark, Bret, Reese, Erik, Jordan, Bruce, Lindsay, Joe, Connor, and
One-Eyed Eddie's Sports Bar in Greeley.
Huge. We love Greeley, folks. We love Greeley. So thank you to our road crew, and again, a huge, massive thank you to Husker Power Products, making sure that the IED Club Roadshow Dancing with the Skurs was even able to happen.
We had a conversation with Joe from Husker Power Products about a month ago or a few weeks ago. It was the night of the UCLA game, and he told us a story. I don't know if you guys remember it, but they had one of their crews recently serviced an engine that I'm sure their dad had sold, that John had sold in 1984. He started in 81 in Ainsworth. They sold it in 1984, and they got a call on it, and they were like, okay, what's the engine serial number? I don't know how they do it exactly. This was a 1984 engine that they had sold them, that it was still running and just needed some service. Yeah. So that's
it's quality.
Because when this, what I don't know a lot, I admittedly don't know a lot about the world, the ag world, the manufacturing world, even the products, and those guys know I don't, but I do hear that, because I know when those things break down at the wrong time, either in an ag setting or a manufacturing setting, it's bad news. It's lost opportunity. It's lost money. Yeah. You can't have things that aren't reliable with those. And so when you hear that about their engines, they sell the Isuzu stuff, super high quality. Like, this is an area you don't want to skimp. And it's also an area where you want to make sure you've got great customer service, where you've got service crews. They're sending service crews out all over, whether you're in ag and manufacturing, to get out there and work on them. We understand as small business owners, Josh, there are certain things that are worth making sure you're getting the best of, as we talked about many times. Yeah. That's what Husker Power Products is going to do. And I know it's like the equivalent. You've got the equivalent of the big box stores when you're shopping. And then you got the local family business, and I think we all know the difference. Yep. And we all know the difference in quality as well. So Husker Power Products is the latter one. Family business. And
there's a big care factor from those guys. I love that we got to talk with Joe, and we actually got to see him down here.
Got to see him and his dad.
Mm-hmm. That was so fun. These guys, not only big Husker fans, they care about the products. They stand behind their products. They want it to work for 30, 40 years. Yep. And then they want to be the ones to come help you out. Like you said, get all the service and repairs and things to make it last another 30, 40 years. And
true family business, because they get Josh and Amanda, all the team too, the whole family. It's like Callahan Auto Parts in some way, right? From Big Tom all the way to Tommy, right? Going out on sales calls.
Callahan Auto. Milk, yogurt, candy bars in the freezer.
And all the pictures, and my grandmother ran it during the war, and now someday I'm going to hand it out. That's what we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
I don't know that they wanted a Tommy Boy related read, but they got one.
They got one.
I had just nothing but Tommy Boy lines in my head.
So thank you to them, and also thank you to our great watchers today who are continuing to drop us supers, including another one from Chad. Thank you, Chad. He says, Jack, do you remember the NU versus KU game in the Hope Church basement, and T. Badgett hit baseline jumper to win, and you broke out your Dickie V voice classic?
Oh my gosh, I know who this is.
Yeah,
Chad. What's up, Chad?
What is this about?
Explain this.
I ran around church camp in Colorado with Chad back in the summer of 1996. We had good times.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to remember which game. So the Terrence Badgett was that the one when he had the dunk against Kansas that would have been 90. Maybe it was right. What was that? Chad might have to fill in the blanks for it, but the answer is yes. I remember those things. Yeah. I remember that basement very well. My dad was a pastor at that church, and so I spent a lot of time at that church. And we would bring down the TVs there, and even if there were like Saturday night or Sunday night church stuff, we were still going. My dad was a pastor, so sometimes Chad helped me. We got a little creative, and we made sure we were watching some of the game. My Dickie V impersonation. Wham bam jam, Terrence Badgett, unbelievable! Oh, Lincoln's going crazy, baby. Something like that.
Now I know what Bernie Sanders would sound like if he did March Madness.
We have a very similar situation in terms of the action is a little bit more.
That's actually pretty good.
I know, it's the one I do on the radio. People
so
love
good
it.
At Bernie.
Bernie, I can do. Yeah,
check it out sometime.
I do.
Matt writes, going back to the game tonight, J-Law and Mast have been turning it over off of simple dribbles in ways that make it look like they don't know how to dribble. Kind of inexplicable. My favorite play from the game on Thursday, which I have now said this to people a million times, only happens because J-Law bounces it. And I know that there is a lot of theories out there. There is overinflation.
Yeah, what is the deal with that?
And so he dribbles it, and the ball goes flying up, and he loses it, and then he drops it back to Master, then drops it back to Price. But that's been happening so much where it's just like there was an early turnover that Mass just lost the ball. And it's just weird. If a pass is going to get picked off, but a pick six, Jack, some call them, that's fine. But I don't like the ones where it's just simple dribbling and you're turning the ball over that way.
It just goes off your foot.
Yeah, it's very triggering. Shout out to Arneal A. Hit likes for this great stream. Thank you for the super, and thanks for a reminder. Like and subscribe, please. We would very much appreciate that because we will be back later tonight, probably about 6 hours from right now. When we pull back into the Star Wars house, we will
get some coffee, have a like Josh did.
Yeah, I had afternoon coffee.
Josh had the non-crappy coffee that I bought from Walgreens.
Oh, my gosh. We have had terrible coffee here all week long, and it took until the afternoon of our last day for us to finally amend that. Thank you.
And to improve it that much, that was Walgreens brand coffee, so that gives you an idea of where we're at here.
Pretty trash.
Standards are low.
Husker from you does point out about the ball. They play with a totally different ball. Notice how many wedgies we've seen. You know what a wedgie is, Jack?
I haven't watched. Yeah, I knew. I haven't actually seen that many, but I haven't been watching as much as I should. But Nebraska's had those weird turnover issues for a while. It just, I mean, I even think, did they use it in the Big Ten tournament? Remember how much that ball was? Garcia had that rebound but bounce off his hand.
That was terrible.
Against Rank had a hard time. It felt like handling the ball. It's been a weird issue of late. And real quick on Rank, and I'm not. The season will end at some point, and I'll stop saying this.
Yeah.
But I hope before this season ends, we get to see him be aggressive, scoring in the paint again. And by aggressive, I don't mean running people over. Use what one of his best skills is, which we see not enough. And that is rendering defenders who are, are getting a lot of block shots normally, unable to get the block and getting that ball there because he's got moves. It's like he forgot the code on the controller, how to do the moves. Like when you play Street Fighter and you get a new guy and you didn't expect it. And you're like, how do you do the fire? How do you do, how does they do the Ryuken thing? And you don't know what the controller is. It's like he doesn't go to those moves near as much. And he hesitates so much. Like
Evan in Denver says, yes, please, dear God. He's so timid.
I don't know what he didn't used to be.
Yeah.
I'm glad Evan said that because I'm yelling it. Like he'll get it. He had small mismatches in the Troy game, huge mismatches. And I'm like, freaking go at him. And again, I don't mean go at him as in, although he backed people down, but when he had small guys on him, he backed him down to the point where he got in range where he has 5 different shots he can do.
Yeah.
And he can use both hands. And like, where is it? Like, where is that? That is almost completely. He'll still get a few hook shots. He'll still do a little of that. But the finishing at the rim creatively is one of his best things. Why it made him such a matchup nightmare during the beginning of this season. And finally, they'll have to double him, and that's when you're screwed. That's when you get Price Sanford wide open for a 3.
Right. And not just Rink at the rim, but like Bearcade the other night when we saw right away, he like left it at the rim, what would have been Nebraska's first points. Nebraska overall finishing at the rim. A lot of the talk is the 3-point shooting on both ends of the floor.
Yeah.
But if Nebraska can get points in the paint, points at the rim, that, like you said, opens up a lot of the other stuff. It helps add on to that 3-point shooting.
Yeah,
it absolutely does. By the way, Matt wants to know, does Kaleb have pants on? What's with the blanket? You're just saying nice.
I'm not just a blanket guy.
We've learned that about you.
Yeah.
You are more of a blanket guy than
I'm a blanket guy. Yeah, it's been. I've kind of made this blanket mine over the 3 days we've been.
It's okay to act like it's weird.
80-30. Also, Jordan writes, it's like Jack forgetting what the celebration button is and laterals it instead. Got him. Got him. Oh, what did I do? I pressed the celebration. An all-time
Yeah, it's like
moment.
when you're playing you switch from Xbox to PlayStation, and the button is different. The X is not the X, and that maybe the X is not the X for rank.
Maybe the X is not the X. I hadn't thought of that. And same thing with the Jared Garcia rebound at the Big Ten tournament.
Yes.
Maybe that's what happened. By the way, I don't know if we've talked about Garcia's minutes at all over the last couple of days, but oof.
We briefly mentioned them.
Oof. It was tough. We rewatched the game last night, and we kept track of all of the negative things that happened in his 2 minutes when he first came in, and it was pretty tough, Jack.
I just don't know, because I think he could have value, but that value is not as a ball handler or generally a shooter. it's as a rebounder, and it's as a big body, and as someone who's kind of the garbage man on the inside, which he can be. I've seen him be really good at that this year a few times.
Yeah.
But what happens is he gets in there, and the way, because they've scouted Nebraska, obviously, and it feels like defenses are like, oh, let's make sure this guy gets wide open, right? Or they get the ball to him, like we hang off him enough to get him the ball, and let's let him do the work for us.
Yeah.
And it happens seconds within him going in.
Yeah.
It's
the other teams are saying it's Jared Garcia.
I cannot believe
it's Jared Garcia time.
Like, if it's that's one thing I cannot believe that Fred has not been able, and maybe he's tried, I don't know what it is, but to get him playing to his strengths and not take the bait of him not taking the bait, the team not taking the bait.
And he's had flashes. He obviously was extremely important in the game in Champaign, especially at the end.
He was huge in that game. They wouldn't have won without him.
Mattering a whole lot because of the way the game went, but he hit 2 threes against Purdue in Chicago.
Yeah.
But it's bursts here and there. The larger picture has been, oh God, he's going to take a terrible shot, or if he touches the basketball, it's going to, you don't know where it's going to go.
The turnovers are the biggest thing.
And then,
at least if he shoots it, it's got a shot of going in.
And then defensively, like the other night or the other day, he was just flying all over the place. There was nothing where you could at least go, okay, he's in there and playing sound defense. He was just lost all over the place over there too. So, like, you get anything above that level, that's going to be helpful. It was not a good couple of minutes the other day.
Evan in Denver posts a photo of somebody at the game who had a shirt that said it's Jared Garcia time. So funny.
Ken Pavelka retweeted something I saw just a little while ago, that they had something written on the dueling piano place that everyone was trying to get us to. That
you could pay so much money and you would have the board.
They wrote it's Jared
Garcia time. It got replaced by Sweet 16. Make room for Daddy.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
That would make all of us quite happy, I imagine.
It is funny that, man, Nebraska basketball. Here's a unique thing about Nebraska basketball. The player. There's certainly a lot of people, like Jared Garcia is the guy on the team, right? Every team's got one. The football team always has someone that everyone's frustrated by and all of those things. He also has a cult fan club, which you'll never see with a football player that everyone's down on.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the difference.
And who knows? Maybe he makes a couple plays tonight that ends up being
awesome.
Super memorable.
Get rebounds. Go in there and get rebounds. God, that's all. Go.
Get rebounds, hand the ball off.
Dennis, show him some Dennis Rodman film. His later years in the Bulls, especially.
Yeah, when he was
where he acted like the freaking basketball was a hot potato. He wanted to get rid of it
he
so
was
bad.
Bouncing it around.
Right, but if he did get it, it was always like get rid of it.
Right.
So we have talked about a variety of players. We just spent some time talking about Rink Mass. We spent some time earlier talking about Frager. We just talked about Jared Garcia. We talked about Sam Hoiberg. We've barely mentioned Price Sanford, except for, hey, he made some threes the other day. Like, I cannot wait to see what he does for his encore. The thing that I come away so impressed by with him, beyond his ability to make threes, but his quick release, is that he seems to step up in the biggest games. Like, you look across the board this year at important matchups and what he was able to do. We also haven't really mentioned J-Law, so we'll have to talk about him as well. But he was, of course, on fire. He started the run. He had 2 threes in a possession, Kaleb, that almost became, over the course of a couple minutes, it almost became a kill shot because Nebraska went on a 9-0 run. What does he do 2 days after, really laying it on pretty thick for Troy in Nebraska's blowout win in a game that I imagine we're all thinking is going to be a whole lot closer?
Well, and one of the things that we saw the other day, and I believe you commented on it, you talk about someone who's not timid. He is showing so much more emotion as the season has gone on. Like he was living all of that the other day.
He is developing into a bona fide star.
Yeah.
College basketball star.
And not just because of the way he can quick trigger, make threes, he can take guys off the dribble. He is so active defensively.
Well, again, the possession that kicked it all off, that he gets the steal, he's just playing great defense with his hands, and you can see it in the couple seconds before he actually knocks it away. He's getting closer and closer, and then he just tips the ball and he dives on the floor. Like, he started that, and then he finished that possession too.
Another player during a season whose game, because he wasn't this guy at the beginning of the season. Price and Frager were kind of, I don't know if afterthoughts is the right word, but they were like, okay, it was about rank mass then, and it was about Sam Hoiberg and Berke and the guys who had experience. But man, there's no doubt now. Very justifiably, people will talk about Sam Hoiberg potentially or rank being the most valuable, but like, there's no doubt who the best player on this team is
by far.
Like the best player on the team, but now it's beginning to be all around. You referenced it with the defense. You guys referenced with the defense. Sometimes, and I don't think we've seen as much of it. Now, hopefully, this will be there tonight too. But it's also getting in there a little bit. Like, he's bigger than people realize. He's taller than people realize.
He absolutely is.
Like kind of the game plan they went to against Iowa in Lincoln, where it was, okay, you're going to get him within 10, 15 feet of the basket, and he's going to have his back. He's going to get the ball.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about.
So it's not just, is he going to run a marathon today and get open and quick trigger threes? Some people do run those, if you didn't know, but get him the ball in scoring positions other ways. Obviously, that was a point of emphasis in the regular season finale. That's something Nebraska has in their back pocket now to go to. If it's, okay, he's not getting open for these, you got to find a way. Oh, he's got a mismatch. You can go get him the ball in a different position.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a comment. Oh, yeah, here it is. Husker from you says, $2 million in NIL greater than two-way contract. And then in parentheses writes, I hope. Like, that's the story with him right now is, will they be able to keep him back for another year? Depending on which sources you talk to, it sounds like there is a lot of confidence that Nebraska is going to be able to retain him. But I think a large portion will come down to testing the waters with the NBA and finding out what he learns from them. Yeah. If I had to bet, I bet that he'll be back for Nebraska. It's certainly going to cost a lot, but I think he's very much worth it. You're right, Jack. He is a star. Yeah, he is a star.
Like, if he improved like he did from last year to the beginning of this year and the beginning of this year to the end of this year, if something like that trajectory continues into next year, you're talking about, one of the players that you're talking about. Like, tell me if I'm going too far with this, but as an All-American or on the big Naismith watch list at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, especially given the players that we know for sure won't be back next year. And Matt brought that up. He says tonight could be the last night we see Price in a Husker jersey. And then he says if it is the last game, then it would be the last game for Sam, Mass, J-Law. Let's soak that in. And that's the thing. So let's talk about Jamarcus. I guess we spent a few minutes on his dribbling earlier. The thing that jumped out to me, and I know others noticed this too. I saw a tweet from Dirk Chatelain during the game on Thursday. He looked smooth again, man.
Yep.
Like, in rhythm.
The crossover three, of course.
God. He took that guy's job.
Yeah, and then he made another three where he caught it in rhythm, but it was the mid-range J I remember talking about with you, Kaleb, in the building where I was
exactly 2 minutes later after he did that exact same setup and got the three, he finds space in the zone and gets the 15-footer just off of the elbow.
Yep. And so that was the thing that, was so nice to see from
this
him.
Is going to be a fast – Vanderbilt's going to try and push pace. If he can control turnovers, Jamarcus Lawrence likes to play that high pace better.
Yeah.
I feel like he feels better when that's happening. Getting in transition, he'll try and push, but if he can get in rhythm in those and the way that he's passing and the assists start to pile up, which he didn't have as many of, but the 0 turnovers for him was probably one of the most exciting individual stats from that entire game was the fact that he had no turnovers.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt writes, I wonder how much Sejan has helped with culture throughout the season by staying engaged. Yeah, he's another player that will.
It seems like that's been good for the team.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, boys. Anything else with this matchup in particular that we have not hit on as Nebraska gets ready to play Vandy? It really feels like this is sort of as that first game was the whole let's make history night. Let's break the curse. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the emotion of previous years and all of that. It feels like this is a completely different narrative about tonight because this is finally that chance to say, okay, it's all real. We believed and we knew it was real, but it's time for the country to notice that it's real because we're going to be at the Sweet 16 if you win this thing. If Price Sanford has another big game, he's going to become he's going to blow up even more.
He's going to blow up as one of the tournament or a Sam would or whatever. Like if they win this game in prime time, right? And And then you're in, all of a sudden, you're in a Sweet 16 that is 25% Big Ten. Like, you start saying there's nothing left in this bracket, I guess Duke maybe, to intimidate this team. Houston, I don't know.
Yeah, well, somebody said it earlier that you beat Vanderbilt today, just given that Vandy is a week off destroying Florida. Yeah, that was a week ago today, wasn't it? That they beat them on Saturday. It's like, why couldn't you go in next week thinking we can win this game, right?
That's exactly right. If you win this game, there's no reason. There's zero reason not to think you come to act like you're an underdog against Florida.
Yeah.
Like at some point, they're not going to be the underdog in these games. If it's true, if they could go in and win this game, and those games against Purdue and Illinois and Michigan were against the best, and Iowa might be better than I even thought. At some point, it's just true.
Yeah.
And I think I've teetered. I think a lot of us teetered at the end of the season, but I feel like a win tonight deletes whatever it puts you back where you were in the second week of January. It puts you at that place in terms of being like, oh my gosh, this could get really weird. That's all you need is a win tonight in a home court on a team that has played 5 games in 8 days. Did we say
5 and 9?
5 and 9 games, who already came in, whatever the Vanderbilt coach meant by what he said, the fact that he said it right off the bat after that game really makes you think about mindset. Like, man, there's a lot of situations where Nebraska doesn't have the stuff working for it. We've seen teams with flu, right? We've seen teams have to go on the road for bowl games and for NCAA tournament games. We've seen injuries happen at the best. The intangibles seem to all be there. You're going to have a home crowd. You're healthy. You're rested to some degree. You didn't even have to have your starters play the last few minutes of that game. You got out early at the Big Ten tournament. All the people who said that, if they win tonight, they were right.
Yeah,
they were right, because that's a weird undercard story for this whole thing. It's a bit of a proving ground for this whole theory about conference tournaments to some degree. And of course, a lot of other things factor in, but Vanderbilt went the length of the whole SEC tournament. Nebraska was done on Friday night. And then they had to play on they played the later game on Thursday. So I don't know. I'm getting myself pumped up now. Like it's the Sweet 16 at that point.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And Nebraska is not an 11 seed.
Correct.
Okay. This is not George Mason going through there, or this is not, pick your favorite underdog mid-major school. This is what looks like is going to be one of the best teams in what is clearly the best conference at the top, at least in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
Anywhere. And they've seen it all. There's nothing they haven't seen at this point. It's like, Duke, right? We're watching Duke right now, and I don't even know what the score is, but
by 5.
Duke's not at another level than what Nebraska's seen.
Yeah.
Right.
Florida absolutely isn't. If Nebraska can take it to Vanderbilt tonight, they should be favored in that game.
We got one more super before we go out the door from Kenny. Would beating Iowa go to the Final Four eliminate the Iowa frustration of the last decade?
Oh, my gosh. It'd be to go to the Elite Eight.
It would be to go to the Elite Eight. And we spent a lot of time talking about that at the various establishments last night. Would you rather play Florida? Would you rather play Iowa if they win tonight? It's so funny.
It's an interesting discussion, and we can really have it tonight if they win. We can delve
because then we will know that Iowa and Florida play tomorrow, and Nebraska.
I'd rather play the team that I think Nebraska has a better chance of winning, and that's Iowa.
Right. And so to answer the question, that would do a lot.
But it would change. Now that said, it would change, as we talked about this morning, the entire feel of.
Oh my gosh!
Of the week, of the game,
there'd be the pressure of Iowa, but also like, oh my gosh, it's the team they just beat. They should win again.
Remember when Duke played Carolina in the national championship? Yeah. That's not quite that, but for Nebraska fans who haven't been anywhere like that, this is that. It's weird.
And then you're saying, oh my gosh, you're 2 wins away from the Final Four, and one of those could be against a team that they beat already this year.
Yeah. So the answer to the question, if they would win that game, if they could beat Iowa and go 2-1 on the season against them,
and make
in
it
that
to
game. And this is
Elite Eight.
premature, but we can fantasize about this later tonight, hopefully. I love this topic.
Speaking of later tonight.
Okay, I am.
Yes,
you're ready to go.
I'm getting freaking
the
jacked.
class at the hour of Jack, where he goes from one thing to the
it's
other.
It's like I don't ever let my mind, kind of just really talk through these things.
But now we got to leave. So here's what's going on. We are going to head out. We're going to be at Social Capital. We're going to be doing some stuff on Twitter, video-wise. We're going to do some stuff on Patreon. Again, 7-day free trial right now at patreon.com/I80Club. We would love to have you join us there. Jack did a tour of our house a little bit earlier in the afternoon, so we'll be doing some special stuff there. That is once we arrive. And then we're all going to go inside the arena. We're going to watch the game. Immediately afterwards, we're going to make our way back here. It's not that far of a drive. We were talking about it earlier. Traffic's not that bad either in this city, so we're hoping that we get back here, of course, ASAP. Part of that is going to be how fast the first game goes. And then when Nebraska starts, and how part of that will be how fast that game goes. But we have a scheduled time for 11 o'clock tonight. We'll see what time it is.
Traffic's good. Only in OKC.
Hey,
only in OKC.
Frager said it. They didn't come to this city to win one game.
They came
to win two.
They came to win two.
I want Frager to dunk it on everyone's face tonight. I'm so tired of the anti-Frager stuff. I am so tired of it.
Yeah.
Like, he walked – of all the pictures we've seen of Frager and analyzed his body language, did you see him walking off that floor?
He was walking off with Hoiberg.
Yeah, we used that as one of our thumbnails.
Arm in arm with him. Yeah, I saw that. And smiling, like –
yeah. People need to take
there's people who just decided that they're – they've just got their narrative about him that's never going to change. And
people are idiots.
And I want so bad for him to have a big night.
And that's a great reminder.
And for his dad to be thinking about me.
Yeah, because his dad called the voicemail line the other night. You can call the voicemail line tonight if Nebraska wins, 402-819-8030. Give that phone number a call if Nebraska wins. Let us know what you're thinking. We will play those on the show tonight. Stibbs is going to be in the building as well, so we'll have him hanging out with us.
Johnny will be back here
Johnny will
tonight.
be here. We're going to order some pizza or cook pizza, whatever we're going to do. It's going to be great. We want to give one final shout-out to our I80 Club road crew for today's episode. Lincoln, Corey, Gerren, Mark, Bret, Reese, Erik, Jordan, Bruce, Lindsay, Joe, Connor, and
Eddy.
Thank you.
One-eyed Eddy.
From Greeley. Thank you so much for supporting us.
Thank you to David, who just became a subscriber, too, of the Patreon.
Let's go, David. Welcome in, baby. Also, we would love to, again, shout out our incredible community partners, Eye Surgical Associates, Fleet Feet Lincoln, 5-Star Bath Solutions, Lincoln Symphony Orchestra, Look Architectural Coatings, Pinnacle Bank Arena, Sandstone Wealth Management, The Still, Sutton, Linder, and Sutton. Visit Lincoln in 1620 The Zone. This broadcast today is in association with 1620 The Zone. Tonight's episode will be as well when we're recapping the game. And, of course, we would not be doing the I80 Club Roadshow, Dancing with the Skurs, without Husker Power Products. They are the reason that we are in.
I'm glad I'm not an employee of 1620 The Zone because all bets are off. As an old card dealer at the Ameristar in Council Bluffs once said, all bets are off tonight.
All bets are off.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Let's party at Paycom.
Especially when you call 402-819-8030. All right, we're back tonight at 11-ish. Stay tuned. Turn on notifications for the show on either the I80 Club YouTube page or the 1620 The Zone YouTube page. We will see you then. We are going to leave. We're going to pack up. We're going to head out. Get to the bar.
I just got to tell. Never mind. I'll
you'll tell us off the air. All right, we got to go. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you in a few hours. Enjoy the basketball game tonight.
Let's